In today's class, we shall be learning the importance of center in chess. We shall be learning what are centers in chess, how to occupy centers, and then how to convert an advantage of pawn center into a victory. So today's game, which we are going to see, was played in the Polish capital of Warsaw. It was played in the year 2010 between the player with white pieces. His name is Andresian, and the player who was playing with black pieces, his name is Litvinets. So let's go through the game move by move and learn about today's lesson, that is the importance of pawn center in the openings. Well, what are centers? The four squares at the center of the chessboard, these are called centers. Okay, the name of the squares are E4, D4, D5 and E5. What is the significance of this center? Whenever we put our chessmen or chess pieces in the center of a board, let's suppose we have a knight in the center. The knight will cover more number of squares from the center than it will cover from the edge. For example, if it were sitting on E5, it will have option of moving on 8 different squares around it. If the knight is sitting on the edge of the board, then for instance on G1, it can move to only 3 squares. In the center 8 squares, on the edge just 3 squares. So obviously placing a knight in the center or any chessman in the center, that particular chessman or chess piece becomes more active, right? Another reason why center is so important for chessmen is that, let's once again take the example of this knight. If it is standing on E5, and if you wish to take this to the edge, to the corner of the board, there is something important going on there. So from E5 to A8, this knight will need 3 squares. Okay, maybe C4, B6 and A8. From this E5 square, if you want to take it to H8, it will take two moves, G6 and H8, or maybe F7 and H8. So it means that whenever you have pieces in the center, the piece becomes very powerful. It controls more squares all around it, and also it can move to all directions, all sides of the board in short time. Okay, and if it is on this edge, for instance the knight sitting here on G1 and you have to take it to A8, it will take many more to go. So that is why we prefer, or we advise everybody, all the students, to keep your forces in the center of the board. But now the question is, the big issue is, your opponent will also try to put the pieces in center, isn't it? He is also wise, he is also intelligent. Then how would you prevent your opponent from keeping his pieces in the center of the board? We can prevent our opponents by placing our pawns in the center. If we put our pawns in the center, our opponent's pieces cannot sit because our pawns will capture them. Okay, with this knowledge, let's start the game. It's Andresian white, Litvinets black. The game was played in 2010. White started with E4. Now the moment he plays E4, he is not allowing black's pieces to come to F5 or D5 squares. Now black also played the same, E5. Now this move not only is controlling the center, but it also allows the other pieces to develop. Now white played knight F3. Knight went out, attacking the E5 pawn. Now black also developed his knight, defending the pawn. White played bishop C4. He brings out his bishop and develops. Now black also does the same. In this position, white played a move which is very interesting, and it is double-edged. That means it has some good side, it has some bad sides. Now the move which white chose, or white decided to play, is pawn to c3. Well, it looks like a bad move because the pawn here will deprive this knight from reaching the center, right? So we all know that in the initial stages you have to develop your pieces, but here instead of developing, he's putting his pawn on c3. Why was this move played? The reason is white is controlling the d4 square with his pawn, and he actually typically wants to play d4 at once. But if he plays, black will capture it either with pawn or with bishop. He simply doesn't have support of d4. So after playing c3, now he will play d4, and in case black captures, white will also recapture with his pawn. That is why this move was played. Now, all the moves in chess have some good points and some bad points. So you have to understand what the advantages of those moves are and what the disadvantages. Now black plays d6 here, planning to bring out his bishop, and white went d4 according to his plan. Now the move d4 is actually threatening to capture black's bishop. Okay, the bishop is more powerful than a pawn, so bishop has to defend. Now if the bishop goes back, if he escapes, then white can actually win a pawn. Can you find out how? Well, the best move for white would be to capture de5, whereupon if black recaptures, white will take the queen. Now this is an exchange of queens because black can also take back the queen, but whether he takes back with his king or knight, in both cases black will lose a pawn. If he takes with the king, the f7 pawn doesn't have support. If he takes with the knight, the e5 pawn lacks support. Previously the knight was defending e5. Once it goes back, white can simply capture. So that is why black did not go back, rather he decided to take this, and white took back with the c3 pawn. Now both the pawns are controlling all the central squares. It is preventing black's pieces from coming in center. Now black saved his bishop by playing check, and white developed his knight. Well, defending the check and developing the knight. From here onwards, black made a couple of small mistakes, major mistakes in fact. The first mistake is he played h6 at this point. Well, we all know that in the opening stages we have to bring out the pieces quickly, isn't it? And the move h6 is not developing the pieces. Probably white had some idea in his mind. He wanted to play bishop knight f6, but he was afraid of this move, pinning the knight. So he prevented bishop g5 by playing h6. But still, the move h6 is a mistake. Black should have developed his pieces anyway. Maybe bishop g4 was a good move. But after h6, white went queen b3, putting pressure upon f7 pawn. Now white would capture f7, supported by the queen. Now here black first took the knight. Bishop takes c3. What is the idea behind this move? Well, he is simply exchanging the bishop for a knight. Both are of equal value. But that is once again not the best move, because after white captured with the pawn, this pawn also moved towards the center, lending support to this pawn, the pawn on d4. So white, it seems, has consolidated his grip in the center. Now black played queen e7. He has to defend this pawn, the pawn on f7, otherwise white was threatening. And now white decided to simply see, black is also threatening to capture this pawn and check white. Now instead of defending, white ignored and white castled. Now black can, if black captures this pawn, white can simply pin the queen with his rook, supported by the knight, and white will win the queen for a rook. That is why, after castling, black decided to go knight f6. Okay, now black is developing his piece. but he's slightly slower than white, and this is the position which is the most instructive position of the whole game. So you can pause the video, you can find out the best move by yourself, and then once again match with what was played in the game. White played e5, which is the most thematic move according to theme. The pawn advances attacking black's knight. Now whenever you have a pawn center, you prevent your opponent's pieces from coming in the center, and if allowed or if permitted, the pawns can advance attacking opponent's pieces and basically spreading chaos. Now the knight has to go somewhere, and the knights would not be placed on a good square after it is chased away. See, whenever you advance central pawns, you also open lots of lines for your rooks, bishops, and you vacate squares for your knights. Now after e5, black first took this pawn, but white immediately played bishop a3. See, the pawn till this point was guarding this diagonal, the a3 f8 diagonal. Now that the pawn is gone, white played an in-between move. Before recapturing, he first attacks the queen. The queen had to escape. It moved sideways, and white captured this pawn, once again attacking the queen and also this pawn. Now white has recovered his pawn, but he's on attack. Black took this knight and white recaptured, again attacking this other knight. So you see, advancing central pawns has basically created attacking chance by chasing away opponent's knight. The knight went here, but then because we had advanced the central pawns, we have opened lines for our pieces. Just like the bishop developed here, the rook also has developed from the center with gain of time attacking the queen. The queen had to move, and now it is white to play and win. You have to find a small series of moves, 2-3 moves, after which white wins the game. Okay, I hope some of you were able to solve this. The solution is the bishop captured f7 with a check, and the king can't go anywhere, because if it goes to f8 or e7, this is the bishop which controls the square. It can't come to the d file because the rook on d1 prevents. Now the king can't capture the bishop because the queen is supporting the bishop. So the king doesn't have any move. The queen has to capture this, after which white played a small tactic or trick which is called deflection. Now white can capture the queen, but black will recapture and white gains nothing. So before capturing, he first moves this king out of defense by playing rook d8 check. Now the king has no other moves but to capture the rook. That leaves this queen undefended, and white wins the queen and the game. Okay, so this is how white won this game in a relatively comfortable manner. But the main reason why white managed is he had a center, and he started advancing central pawns, after which the diagonals, files, everything were opened for white pieces, and black was busy defending his own pieces. For instance, white attacked the queen, white attacked the queen again, now white attacked the knight, and when the knight moved, again white attacked the queen. So white continuously kept on attacking black, and black continuously kept on saving himself. Finally he lost. So this is how you make use of center to win in chess.